Hello, whoever is watching, whenever you are, whatever year it is. I'm not sure. Hopefully, this video will be up for anyone who comes across it and needs it. So, from the last time we spoke on YouTube, talked about facing our flaws, like the lead character of our life story. I love that. It's so good. I love movie moments, so it's really fun to think of my life like a movie sometimes. Sometimes too much drama, but what is life without a little drama, Rama? So today, I wanted to kind of delve into the question on why we can't take our own advice. A lot of people come to me for advice. So what I do for a living is I teach English as a second language. And right now I'm contracting with a company where I mainly speak with adults. And so sometimes my classes are not really lessons. They're really just conversations. And I find myself learning about struggles in different cultures, things that I don't necessarily have to deal with living in America. And then there are times where I'm talking to other people who have gone through similar things as I have. And the fact that we live in different countries is moot point. It doesn't matter. It's something that we just as humans all go through at some point in our lives, things like that. And they can be really eye-opening conversations, and I absolutely love it because it makes me feel more connected to our world and the people in it, whether I'm talking to someone from Brazil or Saudi Arabia. We all deal with things as, for me personally, it's connecting with a woman, or it could be another parent with raising children. I mean, it could be anything. Honestly, it could be thinking about things from childhood or thinking of things that we all thought or did in college. So, just really good conversations. Makes me love my job so much. But I'm not here to talk about my job. I'm here to talk about that sometimes I feel like I give good advice. And then I think, why is it so hard for me to take my own advice? And so I really thought about it, and I really wanted to I wrote down some things that I wanted to share because I feel like people can relate. So one, we already know what we're going to do when we face a problem. And the indecisiveness comes from, of course, which choice to make, but it's in making that final choice because then it's final. And you're insecure on whether it's the right choice or not. But we pretty much, we have the answers to our problems. So that's what I really truly feel. Because there have been so many times, whether it's with friends or my students, where they did not take my advice. They just did what they were going to do anyway. And same with me. I've gotten tons of advice from other people, but at the end of the day, I did what I thought was right. And it's something that I already knew I was going to do, but I wasn't sure. I was insecure. So I think that's the first reason why it's easy to give good advice, good positive advice to others, but not really. We can't seem to follow our own advice. We struggle with it for sometimes weeks or months before addressing it, but it's hard to admit that we already have the answers to the problem. It's hard to admit that we already know what we need to do, but we're hesitating because we want confirmation. So sometimes another voice, another perspective might seal the deal for us. So even if someone gives me advice that is I'm not going to take, something they said confirms my choice, or makes me realize, I really don't want to do that now that I hear it out loud. And, I think this, I might tweak my decision a little bit. We feel like we need to have someone listen and give their feedback before we make the final call in our lives, which is another story, to have someone else help you make a big decision about your life. That's another conversation for another day. But we hesitate because we're seeking that confirmation from other people. And it also feels really good to hear that we are right before going forward with our actions. We want oh yes, there's no way you can fail. Like, we want that confirmation that it's going to be smooth sailing, or we want to foresee as much as we can before we go forward. Or maybe that's me, but it comes from a place of insecurity, which I know I'm familiar with insecurity, very familiar with that. So self-confidence it's not, I feel like it's a muscle. You have to exercise it. And if you don't, it can weaken if you allow it to. So I think self-confidence is something that you always have to nurture. And insecurity can be there. Two, tying in with insecurity is the removal of responsibility. If we are able to tell ourselves that we are following someone else's advice, even if it's someone like we really admire, if it goes wrong, then the blame can be placed on not just us. Like, we can blame it on, I was listening to someone else, so, it's not all on, us that if we made a mistake. It's removing that responsibility, when at the end of the day, no matter what anyone tells you or advises you to do, it's your choice and your actions, and you still have to take full responsibility. All that aside, I don't really think that's what we're thinking when we seek other people's advice. Sometimes I think it helps because it removes some of that burden off of us a little bit. That's why we go and talk to people, because sometimes a burden is really too much. Sometimes decisions are just too much to make alone, and you need support. And I think that's part of the reason, is to share that responsibility, to share that burden with someone. And that is why we have counselors who are excellent. Definitely recommend counselors and therapy for everyone. I think everyone can benefit from it. Whether you're going through something or not, it's always good to at least check in on your headspace. I think it's good. Okay. Okay, on a positive note, we are social creatures, and we like to be around people. We like to hear other people's ideas. We like to share. So it's also a way of involving people in our lives, in our decisions. And if things go well, then you have someone to thank. You have someone to share the victory with. You're not alone. I think that's something really important with being human, is not being alone. So I think that's a positive thing about being able to go to other people and ask for advice, because you're able to share good things as well, not just the hard times. And another thing also, because I'm a procrastinator, I know there are so many procrastinators out there, but things are easier said than done. So before making that decision, if you have a few more people you can run the dilemma by, or the situation by, it can delay the decision-making time, because you are off seeking advice, doing your research. But really, you're just elongating the time before the decision is made, before it's final and you do it. So that can be it too. The procrastinator in me, definitely, I will speak to probably 20 people before making a really, really big decision. Maybe more than 20 people, but I will seek out advice. Especially if I'm afraid or insecure, I will do it. So I don't think I'm the only one. So I think that's something else that we as humans do. Sometimes if it's a big decision, we will elongate the decision-making time as long as we can. And a positive way to do it is to reach out to close friends and family, or a therapist, and get their ear and get their tidbit advice. Now, I think it's good to go to other people sometimes for things, but a more positive frame of mind, go in it with an open mind, and take things that other people say with a grain of salt, because you are the only one living your life experience. No one else. They can give advice from their life experience. You can learn from other people. But at the end of the day, you are 100% responsible for the things that you say and the things that you do. I'm a big believer in that. Yes. Even though sometimes it's really hard to accept that. But it's true. And so it's hard to navigate our own doubts, our shadows, it takes a lot of strength to overcome our own fears and to just be confident. So a lot of it is being confident in our own inner compass. And we can strengthen our inner compass by reaching out to others, people that we trust. If it's something that we can't go to family about or to friends about, then there are counselors and therapists there who are trained to guide us through that process of dealing with decisions, especially big decisions. But that was on my mind and I wanted to share it. So, second video on this YouTube journey. I think I'm doing pretty well. Day 2. So I will see y'all next time. And if you'd like to subscribe for whenever I have more meandering thoughts, that would be awesome. Would love to have some conversations with people who also think about these things and get your perspective. That would be great. And until next time, see ya.